Good morning, good day, good evening. This is Patrick Lovell, Truth Bomb riffing The Con on July 18th, which is a Tuesday, July 18th, 2023 at 10:30 a.m. my time. And like every day, things are coming at us fast and furious. I just got to make a couple of comments and just get right to the point. Look, in one video message from Bernie Sanders, he declares that we have a global crisis on our hands because of all things climate catastrophe. And yeah, he's right. But then again, Bernie Sanders once again platitudes us to death without the details, like, for example, that came to become news today that BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, named the CEO of Saudi Aramco to their board. Okay, so if you know anything about BlackRock and actually how BlackRock became to be the most powerful company in the world, and ultimately their sort of methodology to try to reduce carbon emissions based on influence and interest and trying to strangle certain investments in other places, ultimately just basically is caught in a massive lie. Because who is Saudi Aramco? Saudi Aramco is the largest oil producing entity in the entire world based on the country Saudi, and the company that is a fusion of that, which of course was built by American interest. And you cannot solve the climate crisis and the problems that we have with insane ocean temperatures and all of the other scientific revelations of what we've known about for the last 30 years when you maintain the largest freaking company and the most influence politically with the largest oil producer in the world that basically undergirds the entirety of the dollar's sovereign currency is the monetary backstop, and however that works within global currency. I mean, Bernie is not giving you the details. And then further to that, we're seeing all over Twitter, for example, of course, the right predictably, like, Donald Trump is, being unfairly targeted by the DOJ. And then you see on the left from the likes of Ron Howard and, guys like John Cusack, oh yeah, Merrick Garland's doing his job finally and then others are saying to protect democracy. Democracy's been dead for at least 13 years. We live in a corporate fascist state undergirded by a criminal syndicate that uses socialism to backstop the mafiocracy that is now fueling fascism. Now, the final read that I'll comment on is none other than Pam Martins in Wall Street on Parade, that brings to attention the bank secrecy in Switzerland, that the Swiss government's trying to hide all of the information that led to the Swiss bailout of Credit Suisse's blow up about 3 months ago. And then she makes the corollary to what's happened in the United States over the course of the last 13 years, that I continue to provide the information that blows it all to kingdom come, which is found in our work at www.thecon.tv. And she readily exposes and espouses the heroic behavior of a journalist from Bloomberg at the time, a guy by the name of Mark Pittman, who wound up dying of a heart attack at the age of 52, even though, from what I understand, he was a pretty damn good athlete coming up in the world. And ultimately, he did the FOIA request at the Federal Reserve that Bloomberg sued to finally find the information that Bernie Sanders was asking questions that led to what I reveal to you all the time, which is Federal Reserve Act 13.3. I'm the sort of continuation of Mark Pittman, and yet Bernie Sanders, of course, who was involved with trying to get to the detailed understanding of what exactly the Fed did and what they did and how they did it, that was involved with the Levy study and also what Mark Pittman was looking for, never came to be in a way that the entire country could understand until we made the con at www.thecon.tv, in which the Federal Reserve provided tens of trillions of dollars illegally to backstop a bankrupted financial apparatus that got that way based on racketeering, which is nowhere to be found in the statutes of the Federal Reserve lender of last resort capacity. And then, of course, Pam Martins is willing to, bring this to light in context of her own information and being squashed because they've been trying to find information about Robert Kaplan insider trading at the Federal Reserve during the COVID scenario and all of the corruption that would emulate, particularly as it relates to Jerome Powell, who's the head of the Federal Reserve. So the corruption is everywhere. Corruption births fascism. Billionaires and multinationals spend billions to loot trillions. There's an interconnectivity of what we've created, a paradigm that's existed for my entire life, and then some, that is destroying the planet because corruption births and fuels fascism. 9/11 was some sort of consortium between, fossil fuel aims and Wall Street aims and Saudi Arabia, and, Osama bin Laden slipped through the cracks because the guys in intelligence didn't want to talk to each other because none other than Darth Vader himself, former VP Dick Cheney, and his Condoleezza Rice chose not to let the agencies talk to each other. We had $100 billion intelligence budget, plus, not to mention black ops, and we couldn't figure out 19 hijackers, 15 of whom were getting actual material support from none other than Bendar bin Sultan's wife in the terrorist cells that led to 9/11. None of those answers have ever been made. And in 2023, we've got Saudi sports washing, the Live Golf Tour, PGA, and then ultimately now they got their fingers in college football, which is to me a line too far. Just like Donald Trump is not a hero to the downtrodden. America, wake up! And Ron DeSantis, I'll stick my woke right up your ass, because the bottom line is they're all hiding the corruption that they're all getting paid by. So if you don't have skin in the game, you're the freaking product. And millions of people are giving millions of dollars blindly to the likes of Bernie Sanders, who will go nowhere. He has gone nowhere for the last 13 years. Same with Elizabeth Warren. Biden's got a $72 million haul at raising money from the system that is destroying us. And is it because Biden is on level with Trump? No, Biden's a great guy in comparison to Trump, except that he comes out of Delaware, the LLCs, and everything I'm telling you is expressed through Delaware and South Dakota and Nevada, because I understand the details of how this whole system works. People, we have been betrayed. We have been sabotaged. The upwardly mobile middle-class American dream of dynamism has been destroyed for tyranny. So if you, me, and everyone you see who isn't a Nazi, who believes in decency, in dignity, in integrity, and beauty, and most of all, sustainability, if we merge in unity, we will overcome the misery of tyranny. We have to create a tidal wave populist crusade to purge corruption. If I can get you to invest $13 as a expression of your understanding that Patrick Lovell is the only guy in the country that has the $29 trillion truth that can expose it all, that can turn the tables on corruption, and we can destroy corruption and drown fascism at the same time. If you believe in liberty and justice for all, I'm your ticket to salvation. Not because I walk on water, not because I part the Red Sea, but because I spent years and years and years and millions of dollars to get this truth. But in the grand scheme of things, we spend $4.5 million to do with the federal government that gets paid $90 billion a year in the institutions to prevent what happened from happening, that led to a $600 to $800 trillion freaking mega nuclear bomb of fraud that destroyed the world, that we rebuilt because the greatest trick the devil ever played was to convince the world he didn't exist. What I'm expressing is truth. What I am expressing is how the system works. I'm a football guy. I came up playing quarterback and middle linebacker. I know how to go on the offense. I know how to play defense. You got to think strategically. We the people, it's not about me. You plus me equals we the people, and we have to come together with the truth, because when you've got the truth, you're bulletproof, and it's not rocket science, it's racketeering. We have to rise, roar, revolt. We have to purge corruption. Failure is not an option. Onwards and upwards.